How on earth do you begin the process of songwriting? What's the spark that kicks the whole thing off?
I think it's, for me, it's feelings, you know? It's like emotion. It's a way of getting stuff out of your system. And yeah, it's definitely cathartic. Well, I find that all my best ones have kind of come from a bit of a real place. So yeah, it's like Neil says, I'll sit down and play guitar or piano and just see what, you know, just doodle around, and eventually something will kind of come out, and it's generally reflects the kind of mood you've been in, or what you've been feeling, or stuff that you haven't been able to process exactly in thoughts. You know, it's like your subconscious sometimes comes out that way.
Yeah, I think yeah, it is. It's a mixture of kind of sometimes feeling compelled and just it being the only way you can express something, and then also like keep a notebook of just writing down random crap that comes into my head.
Yeah, because I've got just tons of notebooks filled with what appears to be gibberish, you know.
What kind of things?
Well, usually with me, they're kind of quite ridiculous rhyming couplets. But, you know, you got to start somewhere. Yeah. Usually it's the end of the song, and I kind of work backwards, you know, like that finger in Carry On Screaming, where they create the monster from the finger. Sorry, go on.
No, that's very helpful.
Co-writing is a really interesting way of throwing yourself somewhere different. And like last record I did a lot of co-writing, and with people that I wouldn't ever normally have, like a drummer from a punk band in Germany, for example, I wrote a song with, and wasn't something I'd imagined would do, but yeah, it definitely puts you in a different direction and stops you going into your like default way of writing, and you can, I think it's like it's a great way of learning about writing songs, because you always pick up something that somebody else does, their little default setting. You can kind of add it to your own bag of tricks then.
I mean, yeah, sometimes it's you get stuck. I just kind of bash my head against the piano until it sort of I struggle to get through that. But you know, sometimes the ones where you have to struggle hardest end up being the worst. The ones that don't work.
You're totally right.
No, actually, I think generally the ones that come out pretty quickly tend to be the best.
Yeah, they just fall out.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really nice image. Fell out of me.
That's what your own songs are going. That's what they're going to come from, that place, aren't they?
I think it's kind of okay. It's not quite like sitting there and really, you know, absolutely saying, okay, this is what's, you know, this is absolute fact, because it can be, when I've got a song, part of it could be fiction, or, you know, it's kind of, it can be a bit blurry. So
right, yeah. So it doesn't have to be intensely private then.
Yeah, well, you can actually say something really private, but you feel like it's a little bit shielded.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you can. That's how you get away with it. I think.
Yeah.
Like I think it's kind of your job as a songwriter almost to be honest, because I think that's when a song really connects with people, is that when you're saying something that other people go, oh yeah, I know what that feels like, or but I think it's a mistake to explain the meaning of songs. Like I think it kind of defeats the purpose, because then it just narrows it down to my own experience, whereas I've had people come up and say, oh, yeah, I kind of went through that as well, and what was that? And they explained something completely different that I've never been through, and you kind of, no, I haven't been through that. But so I think it's great that a song can evoke that kind of.
So just sort of leave it open like that, so people can make their own interpretation. Anyway, Victoria wants to know, how do you feel about doing something in the studio that can't be recreated live? I don't know, is that something that makes any sense to you?
Yeah, it's often a problem with my stuff. I think I've gone from trying to recreate it completely with sometimes with orchestras. That's where all the money went, and sometimes with like keyboards and samplers and sequencers and things. And generally, it always comes up short. It's usually better if it's really complicated on the record to do it in a completely different way, with some way of reinventing it. That keeps it kind of interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the same live. I don't
it's
think
okay to completely sort of reinterpret it and
yeah.
throw it out in a different way.
Yeah, for example, we were a 4-piece with Charlotte in the band, and we went back to being a 3-piece, and there's like parts of guitar lines we'd leave out that weren't missing, or backing vocals, and we still have had great shows. It doesn't have to be exactly
not
the same.
Like word for word
Yeah,
or in
no.
any respect. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like the difference between cinema and theatre. Like a record is like cinema, where you want to rehearse the scene over and over again until you capture something like forever. Whereas live is like theatre, where it's purely for that moment, which is why I generally don't like live records, because you're doing something right there for the audience.
It's almost like a contradiction in terms then, in
Yeah,
your sense.
unless you've worked it out beforehand that it's going to be live, or it's going to be recorded. But no, I love the fact that it's spontaneous. It's you do something of that moment that you don't want to see. Like people generally don't want to watch a video of a theatre performance over and over and over again. You want to see the film.
Yeah.
I found when I was starting, I used to sing much higher because it was easier to be heard when you're playing in a noisy band. Like you can, and with crap monitors, you kind of need to sing higher to make yourself heard. But I find
that's really interesting. People I don't think would know that. Certainly no one outside that world would realise.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I find recording you kind of get to know your own voice better, and I found that actually it sounded better down 2 or 3 keys where I used to sing it. For example, I used to probably used to sing a lot of songs in A, and now F, which is the pastoral key, I believe. I don't know what that means. Something about sheep.
The songwriting is like 1/10 of making the whole thing, isn't it? You know, you can go on forever in the studio, or arranging. You know, actually sort of choosing which instruments to play it on, and so on. That's not really songwriting, because anybody can put a different spin on that original nugget. I mean, that happens to me on every record. There's certain songs that seem to get away from me, and
Slip out of your
and it's
control,
like, they do. And it's not that you sort of let other people take over. It's just that you got carried away with a certain kind of thing, and you know, as soon as you go out and try and play it live, you're thinking, what the hell did I do that for? You know, but you just kind of got to go for it and hope for the best.
I'm definitely a champion for anyone who is currently writing really shit songs, and should know better, because I can definitely trace like an arc of really, really shit, pretty shit, shit, not bad, okay, I can live with this. And that was probably about 10, maybe 12 years ago that I actually started writing songs that I could bear anyone else hearing just now.
If I may jump in 1 second, this is really important. Not to get sort of hooked on your first sort of batch of songs. Yeah. Just chuck them away, you know. Don't be afraid to just like.
Scary, though,
I know, but there's so many people I've sort of got demos from that they've been hawking the same CD round for bloody years. It's like, you know, if nobody likes them, chuck them away, write some more, and keep chucking them away, because that's the only way you get better. Yeah. Just disposable songs.
I just say just keep practicing it, you know, just really stick at it, and just consistently write, because just otherwise writer's block will creep up on you, and you know, you just have to like just not be too precious about what you're writing. Just let it just come out, and the good stuff will be amongst that somewhere. You can't sit down and say, I'm going to write a great song now, you know.
One other thing. If everyone says you're shit, just give up. You know?
On that note, Neil Hannon, Tim Wheeler, Peter Wilson, thank you very much indeed.